Hey, good morning. Chuck here with Apple Drains. Today we're going to go ahead and install a Zoeller Sump Pump, and we're going to show you some little tips and secrets of putting this pump together. It's really the easiest thing you've probably ever done for a do-it-yourself project. Hey, good morning. Chuck here with Apple Drains. Today we're going to install a Zoeller Sump Pump down in a crawl space, and we're going to show you the basics of putting this sump pump together. It's probably the easiest do-it-yourself project you've ever done. And Zoeller makes a great pump. You know, I've been installing Zoeller pumps for nearly 30 years and I've never replaced a pump, ever. So if you're going to buy a pump, buy a Zoeller. Before we plumb this sump pump, we're going to go ahead and get the pit ready. The sump liner, you can see this is a standard sump liner. It's got outlets, knockouts. We're actually going to cut one of these off for you so you can see that's where the French drain or the drain tile will connect to the pit and bring water from under the floor, or if it's in your crawl space, it's going to bring it down along the wall and put it into here where the pump takes the water out. So let's just turn this upside down. You need a hacksaw. Go ahead and set it up on the nipple and cut it off. Pretty simple, pretty quick. Now when we put this down into the hole that we dig, we're going to attach our pipe directly into this hole. It'll go into the sump pit and it'll come out through that hole right there. Drop all the water down into the sump pit and our sump pump's going to lift it out. So after you've cut out this hole, this is what it will look like when it's all put together. You're going to have your footer tile come straight into the pit. Remember that holes point down. Here's the holes. Those holes are going to be pointing down, and this is actually surrounded by gravel. You can see how it comes into the pit. Real simple. Okay, so here's our Zoeller pump, and just some basic stuff here. This is the discharge of the pump. You can see there's threads in there, and we're going to stick an 1.5 inch male, that means it's threaded on one end, and it's open on this end so we can put a piece of PVC into it. That goes in here and it just turns tight. Take a wrench and just tighten this up a little bit. It doesn't have to be super tight. Next, we're going to cut a piece of 1.5 inch PVC, and that piece of 1.5 inch PVC is going to be down onto the pump, and we want to cut it long enough that it is on top of, just coming right out of the pit. Remember, there's going to be a lid on here too, so we want to put it to here, and then we're going to put a check valve on there. The easiest way to make this measurement is to go ahead and set your pump down into the pit, take a piece of PVC, stick it into the male 1.5 inch discharge coupling, push it a little bit tight, and remember we're just going to cut it right above the top of the sump liner. Okay, so you've got your measurement. This is going to be just above the top of the pit. We're going to go ahead and cut this piece of PVC. The secret to cutting PVC basically is that you just need a really good hacksaw. Remember to cut clear through. Take your burrs off. This will be our pipe that comes up out of the pit. We'll just set the pit up here so you can see. It's just a couple inches above the top of the pit. Remember, there's a lid that's going to go on here, and this is going to jut up out through the top of the lid. We put a lid on there for a couple reasons. Keep people, bugs, rodents, also radon. So we do our best to really cover up the pit, make sure that it stays permanently in place. Next, we're going to go ahead and drill a hole in our lid for the discharge of the PVC pipe from the sump pump. And you'll notice that there's 3 knockouts right here. And basically this is for your electricity. You could bring it into either one of these. These will be for a radon vent, And of course I really like to put them right here in the center, and because we're putting a new pit in here, I know exactly where that sump pump's going to sit. We're going to bring it right up out of here. So you need a 2-inch hole saw bit, and we're just using a handheld drill. You could use your portable if you have enough juice in it, but we're going to use this guy. Center it up in the hole, drill it out. Now your piece of 2-inch PVC will slide right through here. Piece of cake. Okay, we're ready to install our sump pump down into our sump pit. And again, we're just showing you how things go together, but this goes down into the pit. We take our 1.5-inch piece of PVC that we've already cut to length. That will slide into that male fitting, and of course we're going to glue that when we put it all together. Center your pump. Remember, we've already drilled our hole for this discharge pipe, so we're going to slide the lid on. This lid actually locks in place. A lot of lids are different, but they snap in place, and then you just twist it. That's locked in place. Now we're ready to put our check valve on here. Okay, we've installed our lid onto the top. We've got our riser coming up from the pump. This is the discharge coming out of that sump pump. Next we're going to install a check valve. Check valve only allows water to flow one way, and you'll see those little arrows. Those are telling you that the water flow needs to go this direction. Pretty simple. This thing costs about 10 bucks. Well worth it. It protects the pump. Simply slide your no hubs. Has 2 no hubs. Slide the no hub onto the PVC. Put your clamp in place. The bottom of that no hub, using your cordless drill with a 5/16 inch nut driver, go ahead and tighten that up. Has to be tight enough that you can't pull it apart. Okay, that's basics to put all this sump pit, sump pump together. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and plumb the discharge from the sump pump as it would come up out through your basement or crawl space. Remember, everybody's has got a different height, but we're going to give you the basics. And basically all plumbing is exactly the same, you just got to get your measurements. So from the sump pump, we've got our riser coming up, we've got our check valve properly installed. We're going to go ahead and bring the riser on up as it would come up and go out through the basement wall or crawl space wall. PVC slides into the no hub. Check valve is now secure. Let's go ahead and tighten up this last clamp. Nice and tight. The riser comes up, put a 90 on it. Remember, you would glue all these. This would come up, and now we're ready to go through your basement wall or your crawl space, or just above the sill plate through the wood, depending on what you've got to go through. So this would be coming in from the outside. It connects. Of course, don't forget to glue it. Couple things. As it comes out, remember, here's your foundation wall, okay? As it comes out through there, this will be flush up to the wall, but we're going to put a T on here. Why a T? Because we don't want things to freeze in the winter, and if it does, this pipe that's going down into the ground, which attaches to your downspout drain or your yard drain, whatever you've got going on there, that could freeze. So this gives you the clean out on the end of the T, which is glued, and a clean out cap, which you can unscrew in case it does freeze, and at least the water will have a place to discharge to. So that's really about the basics of installing a sump pit, sump pump with your plumbing. That kind of gives you an idea of what it looks like. Hey, this is Chuck with Apple Drains reminding you that if you believe you can do something, I guarantee you can do it. Have a great day. Hey, good morning. Chuck here with Apple Drains. Today we're installing a sump pump down in a crawl space with a poured walled foundation, and you can see that high water mark there along the crawl space wall. Water's been coming down into this corner and been flooding, and of course it can't escape, so we need to put a pump down here to lift that water up and through the foundation wall to keep this area dry. Start by digging the hole. Got a couple guys digging there. We're going to dig a pretty good sized hole here to put our sump liner in. One guy's digging on the hole, the other guy's actually working on the footer tile, and that's what brings the water over to your sump pump so the pump can lift it out. When you're working, try not to break your shovels. It does happen, but we try to avoid this. Okay, we've got a pretty good hole started here, and we're going to make that a little bit deeper and a little bit wider. Remember that you can see the sump pump set up for this job from the day before. We actually set the pump up and plumbed it the day before we brought it down into the crawl space. Put your pit down into the hole, set your pump down into the pit. Make sure it's in the center. Now we're going to put the lid on. And the lid's just going to be on there temporarily because we're going to be throwing a lot of dirt here. We want to make sure that the area stays clean inside the sump basin. Once the lid's on, we're going to go ahead and clean off that footer a little bit more. We're going to use some of this soil just to help hold our pit in place, because you can see it kind of wobbles around there in the hole. We want to make sure that it's nice and secure before we backfill. And again, if you get dirt on top of the pit, no big deal. You can lift that lid right off of there and clean it right off. Next, we're going to go outside, and the reason that we're going outside is because we want to make the hole through the foundation wall so we can see where we're going to plumb our riser from the sump pump out. This is done with a hammer drill and a 2-inch core bit. The 2-inch hole is perfect for the 1.5 PVC. It's a very nice tight fit. Yeah, this video is speeded up, and yeah, you can see it's cold out there. There's snow, but no big deal.
So we put our check valve on.
Now we're plumbing the riser from the sump pump up through to the foundation wall pipe. You can see we're just gluing this all together. Put a good amount of glue on your fittings, push them tight together, and hold them in place. Once that glue sets up, that's done.
Tighten up your no-hub.
Tightening up the no-hub on the check valve. This is the final step before we completely backfill this area. Then we'll go back outside you want to plumb through the wall. We've put a T on here with a clean out, and the clean out is so that if it freezes, you can undo that cap and the water can come out. Hey, this is Chuck with Apple Drains, reminding you that if you believe you can do something, I guarantee you can do it. Have a great day.